Hi guys, it's Kelly here, and welcome to the Stamptember blog hop with Says Stamp. Today I'm going to be using a new stamp set called Secret Garden, a little bit of an older stamp set that's called Roses for You, and then an Autumn Blessings die, which is also part of the new release. So I'm going to be stamping in Intense Black ink by Says Stamp because it is Copic safe. Let me tell you what my thought process was here. So I really love the Autumn Blessings. It's Christina Warner's handwriting, which I don't know how anybody couldn't love that. And so I thought it would be super cute to have like a fairy who makes the transition into fall. So in the stamp set, she has a bird in her hand, but I wanted her to be holding a leaf. So I stamped the leaf first and then masked it. And then that way, when I stamped over top of it, it masked the bird, but kept her hand. So then it looked like she was holding a leaf, and then I could stamp all my other little leaves, so like she was scattering them. There's this like super little cute gnome and like a little house. I think that would be adorable to do like a scene with her sprinkling fairy dust over that. But that wasn't my thought this time. I just thought it was really cute with that awesome blessings, the leaf changing colors. So I wanted to do a distressing background, so I masked her and the leaf she's holding. I didn't worry about the other leaves because I knew I wasn't going all the way down. And then also they were going to be colored like fall foliage anyway, so a lot of the same colors I was going to be using. I did it like rays, I guess, from the top left-hand corner. I did candied apple, ripe persimmon, fossilized amber, and wilted violet. So they are a bit on the brighter side, though they are still fall colors because I love bright colors, guys, and I don't care what season it is. So I gotta go with what I love. Nobody wants to make something they don't love. So I'm gonna start by coloring her. This is pretty much my go-to skin combination. I wish I was better about switching it up, but I'm not. So maybe, something to work on for future videos, I guess. So you hear me all the time say that I always start with my lightest, move out to my darkest. And part of that is because I'm really, I get very dark if I start with my darkest color. I'm also do it so that if you make a mistake, you can cover it up. When I did her back leg, initially I did the shading on the bottom, which actually would have been the complete opposite of everything else I had colored. So thankfully I start in my lighter colors and then I could fix it and it wasn't a big deal and nobody will be any the wiser except for when I, confess and tell you all the things that I do. I confess and tell you all the things that I do so you won't do them though, so I guess it's totally worth the sacrifice. So anyway, I'm just shading her so that her shading is going to be underneath her arms because they are open, where her hair falls over her face. And then for her legs, I did it as if they were flying back behind her. So, I mean, really, it was super simple shading. For her arms and her legs, she is a very thin fairy. So just make sure that you're using just tip of your marker and light pressure so you don't get any of that bleeding. If you have a background like I do, I don't necessarily know that the bleeding would be a huge deal. You probably wouldn't be able to see it, but if you're trying to do something with a white background or a light colored background, you would be very aware of that. Once I was happy with the way that her skin looked, I took out that R20 to just give her some color in her cheeks. I like to do this a lot when I'm coloring people. I just think it gives them a little something. For her hair, I decided to make her, I guess it's blonde. Blonde, I don't want to say strawberry blonde, but maybe it is more that. I wanted to go with the color scheme I already had. So the combination of the fossilized amber and the ripe persimmon in the background was kind of what the inspiration was behind it. The YR24 Copic marker. It's pretty much a spot on match. So that's how I decided that this is the first time I've ever used this color combination, and I think it worked out pretty well. For her hair, because it's up in a bun, it is going to have a circular highlight. So like if the light was laying flat against it, which means it's going to be directly in the middle. For the rest of her hair, traditionally it's going to be a little bit darker where it's gathered, and it's also going to be darker where her curls fall in front. So make sure when you're doing your shading, and again, it's the same thing, just a really light hand flicking motions. you don't want to cover up the color you put down previously. You want all of the colors to show. That's what gives you depth and dimension. But just be careful you don't overshade the hair that's in front, because usually that is the lightest. At least that's what I tell my hair girl when she dyes my hair. I'm like, make sure you leave them light pieces around my face. So for her outfit, I thought, again, I would just kind of stick with what I already had going on. It ended up being like purple with yellowish orange accents. And I'm not sure that I necessarily love it with the background, but everybody's a Monday morning quarterback. And I mean, really, it's not terrible. I just don't know that I love it. And that's okay. Sometimes you're going to have stuff that you're not in love with, or maybe at the time you do it, you're not in love with it, and then you'll come back, like a day or two later, and you're like, you know what, I really do like this. So just try not to be so hard on yourself. Once I was done coloring her accents, I moved on. She has kind of, it almost looks like a layered, like maybe like a tank top or something underneath her dress. And then I also did the little slip underneath her skirt. And this I did really just the minimal shading on. Wherever it was gathered, I did the little dot of the darkest orange, just so that it would appear to be, I don't want to use the word dimensional again. There it is again. It's happening. But just so that it gave it some movement, I guess, because it isn't a flat dress. She's flying through the air. It should look like there is some movement there. I picked out some violets that I thought matched the wilted violet relatively well. Also, they happen to be my favorite violets. That's just coincidence, right? Anyway, and then again, I did her skirt, and here's again something not to do. So where her skirt is pulled up, I did my shading right on top of it. That's not correct. It should be to the left hand side, because that should be where the highlight is. So here, I'm doing the shading, and I'm putting it in exactly the wrong spot. And then I go back in and put that one little line in. And that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, that's where I need to be putting it. So I think it worked out okay in the end, but anytime that something is raised, whatever is underneath is where it's going to be darker. So the highlight should be at the point that is raised. The shadow should be to whatever is underneath it, whether in this case it's to the left. So I think I was able to salvage it in the end. But just, something to point out. I don't want you guys to get this image and then color it exactly like I did and be like, what is wrong here? That's what's wrong. I apparently just didn't know what I was doing there for a minute, and it happens. So we're just gonna roll with it, be grateful we could fix it instead of having to start all over, and then that's that. So I'm gonna give it a once over with the lightest color, and then I wanted her wings to match. But I did go back and just get a little bit lighter of the violets, because traditionally fairy wings or anything like that, whether you're coloring a bug with wings, they're usually transparent. So you don't want to go too heavy on the shading. And then also for the wings that laid on top, I was very careful to leave the edge light. So the ones that fell behind, I did, the little bit of shading, but the ones that were on top, I wanted to make sure I didn't take the color all the way out to the edge, because you want them to have that separation. You want the wings that are underneath to fall behind the ones that are on top. Even though it's a flat image, that's the goal here, is to create the illusion of dimension and depth. So I picked out just some greens, reds, some oranges, the yellows that I had already been using to do the leaves. The way that I prefer to do them when I'm changing colors is I lay down one side and then bring in the other color from the opposite side. If you're doing a tri-color, like a couple of them I did orange, yellow, and green, and then I would do the orange, and then the middle color the yellow, and then, or I'm sorry, the green, and then the middle color the yellow, and then bring in the orange, and then go back out and blend it with the one in the middle. I didn't show you all the leaves because I basically just did the same thing over and over again, and then I used the lightest of the colors to color in the little circles. Usually I use the Wink of Stella. Today I'm using the Spectrum Noir specifically because I don't know if it's water-based, but it will react with Distress inks. So I wanted it to create a few marks and things in the background. That's why I chose to go with that one. I've never had that happen with Wink of Stella. So if you're looking to make marks, you want Spectrum Noir with Distress inks. If you're not looking to make marks, you want the Wink of Stella. I outlined all my images, so I went ahead and did that, and now we're going to move on to the sentiment. So I'm a big fan of inlay die cutting, only because I just like flat cards. So I taped that down, and then I cut a secondary one. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove the die cutting, but save all your pieces parts because you need them to fit back in. The easiest way that I have found to do this is once I have all my words out, I flip my paper over, and then I just put regular Scotch tape on the back. This creates like a sticky little well for them to sit into, and I haven't never had any issues with it holding up. If you were concerned, you could just glue this down to your card base and then put more glue in as you were adhering your die cuts, but I've never had a problem just using the tape. So I just fit them back in, sticking them to the tape, just kind of like burnishing them down with my finger, and then all of the little parts that go in, like the part for the A, I'll just slide that back in and push it down. I didn't show you the blessings because it was a little time consuming. That has a lot of little parts. And after that, I just basically finished it off with some white gel pen polka dots and a few sequins. So that's the entire card. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are watching in September of 2016, hop over to the blog. They're doing a craft dream makeover for your craft room giveaway. So check that out. I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.